Hello, hello, I'm Trudy, One Grounded Angel. This is the weekly angel card reading video for the week starting the 12th of July through to the 18th of July 2021. So we'll start shuffling to see what messages are going to come up this week to help us navigate what we're facing. So Monday is the throat chakra. So this is a chakra or an energy center all about the way we communicate and the way we express ourselves. And that includes anything from written communication to spoken to body language. It speaks to authenticity as well. So a chakra is like an energy center that is in the energy field around us, or the aura, some people like to call it. And it can get very easily out of balance, or it can get blocked. And there are lots of ways to clear a block in the energy field. Reiki is very good, so are things like reflexology, kinesiology, but it depends on what's causing the block, because sometimes the reasons we might be blocked in the throat chakra, for example, the center of communication, might be because we are holding a deep limiting belief deep in our subconscious that if I speak up for myself, I'll be rejected by someone else. So our whole MO for getting through life has been to keep ourselves very small so that no one no one gets the opportunity to reject us. And it can take a bit of work and self-reflection to realize that that's operating there. And so my personal belief as an energy healer is that you need energy healing at a deep level to go after that belief and heal it. We can't just start saying, no, it is safe for me to communicate and I will believe that now. We can't just rewire our brains like that. We have to go after the deep level belief that's there and what's given rise to it. Maybe there was an incident in your childhood, for example, where you suffered some sort of consequence when you spoke up for yourself, or someone said something to you which made you feel that, oh, it's not safe for me to share my thoughts. Whatever the reason is, it could be past life as well, of course. You guys probably already know that I'm very intrigued by past lives. So that's, there's a lot I could say about the throat chakra. It can also be the ways we express ourselves incidentally, such as through our clothing or through our, the way we express ourselves in other ways, actions. So there's a lot that can be going on there, and I will post an article giving more information. If you don't want to wait till Monday for that, you can go to my website, www.onegroundedangel.com, and just type throat in the search field, or chakra, and it should come up with them there. If you're on a mobile, you need to scroll right to the bottom to get to that search field. Don't ask me why, it's just the way the template was designed. So now if the chakra stuff is putting you off, all you need to take from this is, am I expressing myself authentically? Am I being honest with people? Is there a conversation I'm trying to avoid that really needs to be had? Am I getting annoyed at people for not meeting my needs when I haven't actually told them what I need? I've just expected them to read my mind. Maybe we're trying to avoid communication for some reason. And whenever someone says to me, I'm having problems with communication, or in my relationship there's a communication problem, the aim for me as a healer is to look at what's causing the communication problems. It's not, the communication problem isn't the problem. I can't just give you some strategies to improve your communication. I'm not a therapist, I can't do that. But what I'll be looking at is what's going on underneath that's made you afraid to express yourself, or has made you see someone as the person that you want them to be rather than who they actually are. So Tuesday's card here is patience. Patience is an interesting one. It comes up a lot, and I think it's very important for all of us to keep in mind that things take so much longer than what we realise. Yes, sometimes we can manifest things very quickly, but often it takes a very long time, and that's the memes about manifestation don't tell you that, do they? So we do need to be patient and understand the universe is playing a long game, and there's a good reason for that. Things need to happen behind the scenes often for you to bring through what it is you want to bring through. In saying that, I think patience can also be a bit of a blind spot for people, in that they keep telling themselves, oh, I just need to be patient, I just need to be patient. Instead, as a sort of they're sort of keeping themselves stuck in a way with the best of intentions. They're keeping themselves passive. So just be careful that you're not trying to reach for patience instead of actually reaching for the action steps you need to take. Maybe this thing is taking a long time because you haven't done enough on your part. Maybe you haven't addressed the reasons that you're not attracting a thing. For example, if it's a relationship, maybe you haven't addressed some of the self-worth issues that are playing out there, or some of the beliefs about men or women that are preventing you or playing a part in you being afraid to show up in relationships, or or to attract the wrong type of relationships, or whatever it is. So patience is great. A big fan of us trying to be patient when we are working on whatever it is that we want to create. But do be very mindful of the fact that it can sometimes be used by some people to, with very good intentions, to inadvertently keep themselves stuck. So just make sure that's not playing out as well. That's something that just came up recently with a client, or a potential client, I should say. So Wednesday's card here is vision. There's some literal meanings here and some metaphorics. We'll start with the literal. Is there something going on with your eyes? Do they need to be checked? So that could be playing out there. But in a metaphorical sense, it's about our visions in terms of, it could be our vision for the future. Are we not, are we sort of bumbling through life and not actually taking time to set some goals and really be clear on where we want to go in our lives? Are we hoping the universe just works it all out for us? Or are we, is there a problem with our vision in terms of our perception? Perception might be a better way to phrase it. And this comes up a lot with the third eye chakra, which is all about, well, you know, our visions in terms of our psychic visions, and that can play out here too. Is there some sort of vision that you're having, or you've got a gift, an ability? I don't really like the word gift, actually. I wish I hadn't said that. But if you have a strength in terms of getting messages from the divine as visions, maybe it's in dreams, maybe it's in literal visions, this could be telling you to trust that. But going back to that perception thing, we need to, the third eye chakra can also be about the way we perceive the world. And I sort of touched on this before when I talked about the communication stuff. If we are seeing the person that we want someone to be instead of the person that they actually are, this is a big one in dating. Sometimes we date someone's potential instead of their reality. We date the idea of where we want the relationship to go instead of who they actually are. For example, we really are over attached to the idea or the label of marriage. So we reach for someone who is not married and wants to get married instead of actually thinking, is this person the right fit for me in terms of the relationship, never mind where it might end up. So those are two different ways we can look, or many different ways in fact, we can look at this idea of vision. Are we seeing what's really going on here, or are we seeing what we want to do? Now, I love Sagittarians, but they are so optimistic that sometimes they do put on the rose-tinted glasses to the point where they don't see what's actually going on in a situation. They keep telling themselves things will get better, without actually stopping and looking at maybe things are not going to get better here, and that's because I need to get myself out of this situation. It's no longer working for me. So making sure you are seeing things realistically, and really grounding yourself can help with that. There are lots of articles online that can tell you about grounding. I do grounding every single day. It is absolutely integral if you are working in the energetic or the spiritual realm. But also I think that idea of the way we perceive things can also feed into, our ideas about how we want things to be can also get muddled with our vision for what we want. I spoke about this earlier. If you've got no vision for where you want to go in your life, it's difficult for the universe to support you because you're not really setting a clear intention. However, if your vision for what you want is you're over attached to it, this is the other thing, that's when you start reaching for anything that looks like it's going to, any train that looks like it's going in that direction. And I mentioned that in terms of dating someone simply because they're single and they're there. That's a little bit oversimplified, but hopefully you get what I'm trying to say here is that it's important to have a vision for the future, but it's important that we're not blinded to the reality of a situation. And one of the reasons I call myself the grounded, or put the word grounded in my name, my business name, is because we can't do anything if we're not grounded in reality. We have to be realistic about applying what's up here and bringing it into that human realm. So that means, being realistic. So I took a really long time to explain that, but hopefully there is something in those many different ways of looking at vision that speaks to you, or shows itself to you, I guess. Thursday, be gentle with yourself. Oh, I love the little lamb here. So this could be primarily about self-compassion, which I have yet to meet a single person who doesn't need to hear that. Being kind to ourselves instead of beating ourselves up for not having ticked every item off the to-do list yesterday or today, for not saying the thing we wish we'd said to that person, for whatever it is. Giving ourselves some self-compassion and understanding that We're not a masterpiece, we're a work in progress. We're all a little bit broken and we're doing our best here. So as long as you are working on your self-development, you're on the right track. And the goal is not to be perfect, it's to learn. And so being kind to yourself when you maybe haven't quite learnt the lessons yet, or you're still figuring things out, that's such an important part of supporting yourself to be your best version of yourself. And I said the word best, I didn't say perfect. They're two different things. So I've mentioned this before, but the reason I don't talk about self-love anymore, even though I used to, is because I've realised that it's simply not realistic for a lot of people. So instead I talk about self-compassion, and there's a lot of great research behind this if you're interested in self-compassion. A researcher in the US called Kristen Neff has written about this extensively. There is a lot of research about how being kind to ourselves, being our best friends, that's my interpretation of her work, can really help us to be happier, to be more content, and to do better in our lives. So the aim is not to be in love with ourselves, which is a weird way to put it anyway when you think about it, but just to be kinder to ourselves. And it is harder, I think, to do this when we are struggling, when we're really stressed. So try to be realistic with your expectations, and to remember you're a human being doing the best you can. And just doing even one nice thing for yourself, whether that's, I don't know, running a bubble bath, or choosing to put down the phone instead of doom scrolling, maybe that's the best thing you can do for yourself. And we do have to address the fact that sometimes the reason we deprive ourselves of that self-compassion is because we grew up in a really critical home, for example, where we had parents who, with the best of intentions, thought that criticising us would teach us to become better versions of ourselves. And we know that that's just not the case. People don't respond well to criticism and to being put down. They respond to nurturing and support and encouragement. So if you didn't get that, I'm really sorry that happened to you. That sucks. But you can still give that to yourself now. It's almost a way of parenting yourself. And if you can give it to yourself now, and you do, you'll find that you will be so much better off in the long run. And if you're a parent yourself, maybe doing that for yourself can be great for your kids, because you're role modelling to them the importance of being supportive of ourselves. Massive tangent there. Friday's card. So, sorry, I just thought of something that I should mention here. Often the word that comes up here is around guilt, and shame is another one. They're often closely connected. So if there is something you're beating yourself up for, it could be something historical, then this card could be telling you to really work at releasing that, and understanding that you did what you did to get to this point, and maybe it's not ideal, but it's done now, and you can still be okay despite what's happened. And that you're worthy of love no matter what's happened, and no matter what anyone's told you. Friday's card is Merlina, and this is a very practical message here. It's all about, it's almost a Mercury message here. Do your research, get stuck into the detail, particularly if you're facing a decision. Make sure you really look at what's really going on here. And I can see how this might feed into the vision card here of needing to have a clear perception of the reality of the situation. Do not operate on assumptions or what everyone else is doing or what someone else told you. Really do your research before you move forward. And I love the way this card says, do research or seek expert advice. Now, I'm not a massive fan of canvassing everybody for advice, because I think that people can only ever give you advice that's filtered through their own experiences. But expert advice is a whole nother thing. So if we're talking expert advice, we're talking about people who are skilled and, they have expertise basically and are credible in whatever area it is. So the obvious thing here would be a medical situation, speaking to a medical person instead of operating out of fear, or maybe something like a building, like if you're doing some renovations or something on your home. I'm just spitballing here, but you'd want to seek out somebody who's really qualified rather than just someone who's had a go at it in the past. So don't rush into anything is really the underlying message of that card there. So really think it through and do your research. Oh, just to be back this card. Saturday's card is teaching and learning. This card comes up so often, so I wonder if there are a lot of you who are being called to do a bit more teaching in the world, whether that's to other people, Maybe it's to a one-on-one, like a coaching. Maybe you're being called to be a mentor of some sort. Kids, I don't know, employees, whatever it is. But it's also about you needing to be open to learning. And as I've mentioned earlier, we only learn when things don't go super well. I wish that were not the case. I really do. And as I said earlier, guilt and shame come up so often for us, but maybe those, the guilt and the shame, often we're shaming ourselves because we feel that we should have done things better, but maybe we needed to do it in the way that we did it so we could learn something about relationships or self-compassion or, I don't know, career progression, whatever it is. So the card says keep an open mind. So I think that's really important. Be open to being a beginner. We're all beginners. We're all students. And be kind to yourself as you embark on that. We need to learn, and that takes time. And you'll know this if you are a parent watching your kids learn a new skill, tying their shoelaces, a subject at school. They're going to get it wrong a lot of the time before they learn. So maybe the best thing you can take from this is giving yourself permission to be a beginner and to learn. Be open to learning instead of going into a situation, whether it's professional, whether it's a life lesson situation, going into it expecting that you're going to nail it and that it's going to go perfectly. So Sunday, we have two cards here. Miracles and we have abundance. So the miracles message here, sorry, I've just got a notification I'll get rid of. The miracles card is all about believing that there's more possible beyond what you can see. In a way that harks back to that vision message, it's reminding us that just because things might not look possible doesn't mean they're not possible. Now, I said before that we need to be realistic, but it's always a balance. So yes, we need to be realistic, but we need to remember that there's also more going on than what we can see. We need to see things clearly, but we also need to have faith in something better. And I mentioned with people being over-optimistic isn't really the best way to put it. When people are blinded by the optimism, they're going too far into the hoping and not seeing what's really going on here. But equally, you can go the other way. You can be so blinded by the reality of a situation that you're not allowing enough space for hope. So it needs to be a balance. So maybe widening your perception here is the point, and also abundance is coming through here as well. Remembering that there is much more available to us than what we think there is. Abundance often comes up around money, and yes, that's part of it, our material possessions, our material resources, but it's also around our emotional resources. Understanding there is so much support out there for us, even though it doesn't feel like it sometimes. We're always going to have our needs met. That's really what that is about. And if you didn't get your needs met as a child, or perhaps more recently, then it may be harder for you to believe that. So I'd recommend you work with an energy healer to help you with that belief. So vision and perception are huge here this week. And we've also got messages around our goals in terms of being patient, and I think there's something else around here as well. And understanding that we need to start from a place of not knowing everything and maybe screwing it up sometimes, and being able to be compassionate towards ourselves for that. So I think that self-compassion comes to the fore there around learning and just life lessons in general. That's it for the week. You know where to find me already, hopefully. My Instagram is @OneGroundedAngel. My Facebook page is OneGroundedAngel. And I mentioned my website already, but if you didn't get that, it's www.onegroundedangel.com. OneGroundedAngel.com. The best way to reach out to me if you have a question, I'm not super active on social media, even though I post regularly. I'm not always responsive to messages because I have a boundary around my personal time. So if you do want to reach me, you want to book a session, the best way to do that is message me via my website. If you go to that website, there is a bookings form. You can fill that out and just tick the find out more information. That's the best way to go about it. Thank you for being here. I hope you have a fantastic week. Be kind to yourselves, super important, and I'll see you next week. Take care.